Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Divi Spaces. I'll start with a quick intro about Divi, and then we'll dive into all the things we can talk about today. We've got extra speakers today. We've also got Josh, who's our Chief Innovation Officer, as you all know. He's going to be talking about Divi DeFi. And then, as usual, we're going to be also taking some questions from the community that Voice shared with everyone earlier. So thank you, Voice, again. And then we'll obviously, would love to take some questions from all of you as well who's joined in with us. For those who are joining or listening to us later, so Divi, we've been, since our inception in 2017, our focus has always been on making crypto easy and accessible for everyone, everywhere. This has been the main focus on all of our products, such as the Divi Wallet, it's a self-custodial wallet, and we've got Divi DeFi, which is our decentralized finance platform. We've got staking walls, which is very easy to set up, and lots of other things. So what we want to do with our new roadmap and where we're going is we also want to work towards driving more utility. So in today's space especially, you'll hear more about how you could do that with our DeFi solution, with Josh, and also, how you can shape the future of the Divi Foundation via the DAO. So again, like I said, we'll cover off, finish off with questions from the community, and please, as always, get involved at the end or whenever you want to ask any questions, just, raise your hand, and also share some love by, putting out the emojis when we are talking. Without further ado, let's start with Josh with a bit of a DeFi update. We've got some exciting things coming there, haven't we, Josh?
Yeah, Ranuk, we actually we just completed the first testnet integration of gasless. So for those of you that aren't familiar with our DeFi protocol, Divi has a DeFi protocol Web3 platform called edivi.xyz. And we also have one called DiviDeFi.com. So we have two of them. One is essentially an OTC platform for you to buy eDivi. The other one is an actual trading platform where you can buy and sell Divi with other cryptos. So one of the things that we've been working on with our features, as far as the trading platform, is how do we create a friendlier user experience, right? And so what we decided to integrate was a gasless experience, meaning folks can actually trade between tokens without actually expending any gas. And so we actually just completed the integration of that on testnet. We're going to be testing it on production this week. I'll give the community an update next week on where we are as far as releasing that to the public. And then we also have some pretty exciting updates with the integration of our farms. So the farms have been a work in progress. That's something that we've been trying to get finished now for several months, working on different custody issues, working on the smart contracts for that. Our smart contracts are finished. They're live. They're currently on mainnet. We have that on a test and a dev URL. So we can show live demos of the farms. Right now, we're putting the finishing touches on the staking infrastructure for the rewards that are going to be replenishing the farm for the DeFi protocol. So yeah, there's some pretty big updates coming out soon. Next week, I should be able to post a more detailed timeline of when the public is going to be able to access those things.
That's awesome. Thank you, Josh. Does anyone have any questions on Divi DeFi before we move on?
Well, I do. Are we starting just on ETH and then planning to move out, or is this just going to be an ETH kind of platform for now?
So we have both currently. Well, and by both, I mean both Ethereum and Polygon at the moment. We completed the bridge to Polygon a couple of months ago. But as far as the main features that are rolling out now, it's interesting. So we're doing the farms on Ethereum because that's currently how we have the cross-chain infrastructure set up. And then for gasless, we're going to be starting that and piloting it on Polygon, right? Very expensive for us to cover gas on Ethereum. One of the things that we are going to be working on down the road, Rob, is doing meta transactions where we're actually batching the trades so that we can execute a multi-call. And what that means in layman's terms is we're basically going to submit a lot of different blockchain transactions in one batch, so the gas is a lot more affordable, and that way we can cover it. The platform can cover that for the user. So that's something that's being worked on too. But for gasless, that will be on Polygon. For the farms, that's going to be on Ethereum. And we're also working on Polygon farms at the moment too, but it's challenging because of the V3 contracts that we're using. The LP tokens are they're ERC 721s. They're not compatible with the farm contracts. We use very good farm contracts that have been audited and have been around forever. So we need to either decide if we migrate to a sort of V2 trading contracts or if we're going to stay on V3.
I think actually you hit on something that I think is important. I'm not sure everyone understands, is that, because I didn't for a while, that gasless doesn't actually mean that the transaction has no gas. It just means we're paying for it.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, it's like government. When people in government say things are free, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, free healthcare. No, we're paying for it. When people use the gasless feature on the Polygon side of the platform, we are paying for it, right? But the user is submitting that transaction with a hash signature, allowing that transaction to occur. We're basically just paying that fee for them.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure that was understood because I didn't understand that for a while.
That's a really great thing to bring up. Yeah, and then the last thing I want is for folks to think that we're actually custodying their crypto or misunderstand, like, well, if it's gasless, it must be a custodian. No. We're not a custodian. Right. You're broadcasting the transaction. We're just paying the gas for it, for that contract call.
Yeah. And actually, I have it laid out in the light paper that's coming out shortly about how that works. So it's a little bit more understandable as to how the feeless, at a very high level, how that works and how we're paying for it, but that's still their transaction and their funds. We don't touch that part.
Right. I think that's key, that everybody needs to keep reiterating that, and even everybody here, is that we want to stay focused on your custody, your funds, all of those kinds of things that have been there from the beginning. So nobody's playing with anything.
Yeah,
that's a key thing.
Yeah.
Mike, cool. I think Mike had a question. Mike, did you have a question?
Well, yeah. So, I'm listening about, like, we're going to have gasless on Polygon and the farms on ETH, at least initially. That seems like it would incentivize people to want to trade on Polygon where people aren't providing as much liquidity. And then thus we're not going to get the volume on ETH to incentivize the actual liquidity holders.
I'm not sure I fully understand that. So what you're saying is that because the experience is gasless on Polygon, it's going to drive people to there where liquidity is lower?
For the actual trades, of course, people are going to actually want to provide liquidity where the farms are.
Right.
So who's going to provide liquidity on Polygon is what I'm getting at.
Well, over time, the community will, the same way that the community provided, everybody provided liquidity for the Ethereum side. The thing is, we want to develop some of these features in tandem, right? So for example, the technology that we built on Polygon for gasless, we're still going to be using that on Ethereum. We just have to develop the meta transaction infrastructure so that we can do multi-calls on Ethereum. That takes a little bit longer time. So it is kind of like a phase or sequence rollout, but ultimately the biggest incentives for trading activity are going to be on Ethereum because that's where the farms are, right? That's where the biggest earning potential is between, the cross-chain staking, the LP rewards, etc. But that doesn't mean we can't have Polygon, right? Just because we also have Ethereum doesn't mean we shouldn't be developing or pushing the features on Polygon. It's just that it's easier and more feasible for us to roll out certain features first on the Polygon network than it is on Ethereum, just due to the cost. Are there any other questions from that? Did I clarify anything? I want to make sure that was clear.
Mike?
I think we lost his connection.
Yeah.
Now he's reconnecting. So I think we can circle back if that's
sure. Yeah, if he needs to, sure. Yeah, and I don't have any more questions on that either. But it sounds, we've been trying to get this thing out. This environment recently has just made this custody part very difficult.
Right.
So it sucks to be ready to go, and then we just can't get this part done. But it looks like we got a solution for that.
Yeah, and also, like, I want to be very clear, just because we're developing on Ethereum doesn't mean that we can't develop on Polygon, right? I mean, it's very similar to us developing on Ethereum testnet, where the cost of development and scoping out new features and pushing forward is pretty low, right? So what's nice is on Polygon mainnet, we can do a lot of that development, and it's relatively inexpensive, right? So we can actually push forward on features. The challenge with farms, like you said, Rob, is that there was a pretty significant challenge that we had to overcome with our swap provider or bridge custody, things of that sort, where we figured that out now, and we're in a place where we can actually go forward and execute, because the smart contracts for farms have been live for quite a while. What we needed to straighten out is the swaps between the layer 1 Divi and the layer 2 Divi. So we've got that all figured out now, and I'm excited. I mean, the farms are going to be a great opportunity, and it's going to be cool for people to be earning LP rewards and farm rewards too.
And that's something truly unique. I mean, I was just talking to some people about this other group to help us kind of figure out where else we can extend the Divi tentacles. And I was describing State Farms. It's really unique to us. That in the way we're doing it and linking them to the LPs. And these guys talked to hundreds of projects, and they were, I guess I should say, impressed that we have this.
Yeah, I can't really think. I think the closest to something like this would be Cosmos. I think Cosmos has something that's similar to cross-chain, but the thing that's unique about ours is the rewards that are being generated for the farm, they originate as staking rewards. So they're not, whereas most DeFi farms are arbitrarily minting the token into oblivion. This is just mining activity that's actually generating these rewards.
Right. Cool. Anybody else have anything on DeFi or staking farms?
Yeah, I think that also covered some of the questions we had from the community as well from before. Yeah. Okay,
Absolutely.
cool. All right, let's move on to DAO. To you, Rob.
Yeah, I just have one thing to talk about. So we in the DAO we are kind of addressing something about the end of the upcoming conversion of master nodes to validator nodes, and that master nodes will not be something that we have in our ecosystem anymore. So we're sort of trying to find ways to celebrate it. One option that came from Nakes about seeing if we want to create a kind of this immortal NFT that doesn't burn, is tradable, that represents the governance that was indicated by the masternode that you held. And so the idea was kind of bringing forward that masternodes were supposed to be a method by which the community could actually implement governance. Well, it's kind of at this point, it's kind of an old way to do it, do governance, and DAOs have really kind of dominated the method now. And so we have a DAO. We have a method by which DAO members can evolve what the foundation does and the directions it goes. We have done a bunch of votes on what that governance method is. We need to implement it. We're not there yet. But this came up, maybe we'll have these immortal NFTs that people can have. They can earn them by starting a new masternode between now and the time that it ends. So this is the proposal. We're not only so we're kind of discussing it. I'm hoping to post it by midnight tonight. And it'll be a short vote so that by Wednesday next week, it'll be over. So please come in. There's some big chatter about it. People have kind of clarified a few points. We already do have our governance method with NFTs kind of sorted. This would be in addition, kind of like a different or like an addition to it. There's some discussion of whether we want to do that or not, set that precedent. There's some discussion whether we need it for that. There's very, it's elaborate. This is probably one of the more complicated ones we've ever done. But please get in there, take a look at it, read it, ask questions, and then I hope to post either the proposal in its original form or with modifications that people come up with inside tonight, and then we'll vote. Again, I'm going to remind, putting it up as a proposal doesn't mean they have to vote for it. You can or cannot, may or may not. It's up to you. But please vote. This is how we govern. And so I'm hoping people will get used to voting. If you're not part of the DAO yet, please do. The instructions for becoming part are also in that channel on Discord. So become part of the DAO. And if you can become part of the DAO before midnight tonight, you can actually vote on this also. And that's kind of it. I don't know if there's any questions on that. Feel free to ask. But most of the information about it is actually in the proposal in the DAO channel on Discord. No questions? So then I'm done.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Yeah, doesn't like there are any questions. Shall we move on to the Q&A, boys? I don't know if you got that.
Oh, I'm back. Yeah. I'm back. Sorry. We covered most of that in the Q&A. I mean, obviously, we had the things dealing with DeFi, and we had things that we're looking at the potentialities for what's changing in the future for Divi. How is Divi going to be making sure it maintains its relevance? Obviously, I can answer those questions, but it seems like both Rob and Josh already covered them. Reminder to everyone, I should say, is that if you do have questions that you don't want to speak about on the live, obviously, make sure that you do send in those questions to the form that I post. It's live. It doesn't go away. It's the same link every week. If you've got something in your brain right now that you want to ask a question about but don't want to be on the call, go ahead and send it in and we'll read it back for you. But I think we covered all those. My job is easy this week.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. I think there's one more question, a marketing one, which I will take. It's asking about, in this widening market competition, how is Divi going to move forward and stand out? That's a very good question. Well, actually, the market is hitting the self-destruct button, actually, so it's making things easier for us and also very hard at the same time. I would say in three different ways. The first thing is about increasing discoverability, so visibility of Divi as a brand. So this is something we've already been doing through our marketing tactics, where we start with a lot of content on Web3 as an example, and Divi DeFi with the education series, and also lots of other organic marketing strategies. And the Divi Shorts is another way of doing that. So we're trying to get more people into our ecosystem when we do these things. So we are trying to help people, give them some value in exchange just for that time, and helping them learn about crypto and Web3 and blockchain. So that's one of the things. And also, if you just go on Google and you search for something, with our website domain authority and the relevant content on our blog pages, it will bring Divi websites up on their search listing. So that's going to help people find websites. So that brings us to number 2. So what do we do when people find us to make sure that we stand out, right? I think this is where our USPs come to the fore. So this is when we look at our products and services. We have to make sure that those are as good as it can be, or at least on par with what else is out there in the market, but then also offer something that really matters to them. For example, let's say if our wallet is, on par with everybody else out there, but our UX is so much easier to use, right? So that way you then stand out. Our fees are a lot lower. So that's something we always try to do. And in certain cases, we also try not to even put a fee in. So that way we are trying to bring more people in. We look at the DeFi side of things that Josh talked about. We've got the revolutionary DeFi protocol with cross-chain staking. And we've talked about for the last, couple of weeks about our side chains and, how we are bringing that to the fore. So those kind of things going to help us set us apart from everybody else. And one of the things we talked about last time, which you will also see in our new website, is that we're going to be opening up to developers to see, right, look, we are opening up, and Nick talked about it last week in his tweets as well, like, we are opening it up to people so they can start building stuff on our blockchain. That again, we are very, we are confident that, we've made it as safe as it could be, and also inviting people to try and build on us. So that drives more utility as well. So again, that's about creating those USPs and, a reason for them to use Divi. And that then brings us to our third point, which is making all of this easy. And again, that's another reason why they would come to us. So, that's been our mission. That's always going to be our mission. And everything we do, even on the B2B side, we've always talked about making things easy for people. So, and you will see that through everything we make, it's anybody could literally pick it up from day one. And obviously we have people like Boyce, Rob and Josh, who will come on these spaces and other forums and help you understand a little bit more and through our content as well. So that's how I would answer that. If you have any other questions on that side, on the marketing side, let me know now or later.
I'm finding myself trying to prevent myself from rambling on about sidechain solutions there, because, and I'm not going to, but seriously, in Discord, hit me up if you want to talk about this, because the technical aspects of the expansion of Divi are pretty vast. With the next iteration, not the one coming soon, but the one after that, when sidechains are deployed, not just because that's the path to getting an EVM on there, which is kind of the low friction way of having a good feature set, but there's a bunch of other things that sidechains brings us that will be unique to Divi, and that solves some of the issues. And I'm just going to hint at it rather than go down deep in it. Some of the issues that people have with doing business on a public blockchain. So, for example, if I'm a business and I have vendors, I want to do business with those vendors without other people knowing it. So the two solutions for that are keeping your stuff anonymous, which is very difficult, or have the whole blockchain be private, which gives a lot of bad attention often, and also makes everything private. Instead, you could have a sidechain between just you and your vendors, or you and your vendor, to do business on. These are all kind of possibilities that are out of the box of just sticking an EVM in a sidechain and doing stuff on EVM. There's a bunch of other solutions that sidechains bring us, and I'm happy to talk about them. Boyce is happy to talk about it. And so hit us up about some ideas about why this is our big path forward.
I think that most of you have seen that on my tweets, as Nick teased me about being cryptic, right? That was the fun things, because I've been saying little small things. The answer is yes. If you can dream it, it can happen as long as it's blockchain centered, right? And that's the key thing. Whether it's public or private, right? There's differences between types of blockchain. Some are public, some are private, but all of them are bringing, I think the key word that we want to take away from this, and I stated before, is utility, utility, utility. That's the result of adding certain functionalities to what we're talking about here that will be coming starting with Divi 3.0, right? So we're going to be working towards that, right? You're going to have a release that will be somewhere around 2.15 or 2.15 for an engine, and that engine of 2.15 will lay the foundations, sort of like the very sweeping, the prep work before you start building, where we get to Divi 3.0, which will be the entrance into all of those offerings and opportunities, which will result in value propositions for what you can do. It is what you can do as a community. It's what you can do as a retailer. It's what you can do as a company. It's what we can do as individuals working together. Blockchain is all about people. It's not about the tech. And so if we can make people, companies, individuals do things together that is blockchain centered, focused on sovereignty, or for that matter, private incentivizations that you want with your community, that should all be possible. It's going to be possible. And we should all be extremely, extremely excited.
Couldn't agree more, Voice. Nicely done. Thank you. Any questions from anyone before we finish off for today? Nope.
Oh,
Looks
if we
like
stop
that's it.
now, we can do it in half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to make it.
Yeah. That was really, really useful. Thank you, everyone. Josh, thank you for joining us today as well. Thank you for speaking, of course. And yeah, Voice and Rob, thank you as always. And everybody else, thank you for joining us and for once while listening.